We are still, at least at the time that I'm filming this video, we are still under the energy of the full moon in Scorpio. And so, what does that mean? Intensity. It means the unearthing of things, that truth is being revealed. And that energy is definitely going to continue this week as the co ruler of Scorpio, namely Pluto, will be going retrograde this week. Now, if I had to boil it down into a concise sentence, it would be once you see it, you can't unsee it. And everything that I'm talking about has to do with how you think and particularly with how you identify. So, if you want to know more about the energy of the moment, specifically for Pluto retrograde, stick around. You definitely don't want to miss this. Hello, my loves. As always, I hope that this video finds you well and in excellent spirits. If you're new around here, hi, hello, and welcome. My name is Mel. I'm a professional astrologer and I'm the founder of Divine Feminine Works, where I help people unlock their divinity and discover their magic. So if you're new, welcome. And as always, if you are returning, welcome back. So today's video is all about Pluto going retrograde, and that is what is the major astrological transit happening this week. Now, I know that as soon as you hear retrograde, you're probably like, damn, this is going to be a shit show. There's going to be a lot of bad things happening. And no, that is not necessarily the case. As one of the many things that I find is the purpose of my life, and what I'm here to do is to dispel astrology myths, and retrograde is not the end of the world, nor is it a really bad thing. Retrograde gives you the opportunity to redo things. And retrograde, when we're talking about Pluto, is a very different flavor than Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde is something that we feel really viscerally because it happens in a very sort of personal way. There is things breaking down, delays, and all of those things. Pluto retrograde is a much different flavor. It's a lot more profound and a lot more introspective, right? Now, by way of just technical astrology information, Pluto goes retrograde for a good 5 to 6 months every year. So it's not something that is this really jarring, sort of rare or out of the ordinary thing, okay? So most of the year, Pluto is retrograde. And the way that Pluto works is very subtly. It's very underneath the surface. It's things that are not of your best interest, things that don't serve, that sort of come into your purview and come into your reality in like waves. Whereas Mercury retrograde is kind of in your face, Pluto is very subtle. It's underneath the surface. But when it does rear its head, it's things that you typically can't ignore or should no longer ignore. And that's exactly the energy that we are in right now, okay, as Pluto gets to go retrograde. But here's the thing. There's going to be the flavor of this particular Pluto retrograde this time around can be a little unsettling because the whole purpose of at least this initial Pluto retrograde cycle is to get you to think differently. And the way that Pluto is going to do that is that it's going to challenge what you already think and what you already believe. And that's definitely going to be the highlight and the emphasis of what's going on this week and the energy of the moment. So, first, let's talk about the actual astrology this week. So, of course, like I mentioned, Pluto is going to be going retrograde in the sign of Aquarius. But then we also have Mercury that just entered Taurus. Okay. And so this is important because Mercury in Taurus, especially right before Pluto goes retrograde into Aquarius, forms a somewhat difficult aspect. They're going to be square to each other. So, what does this mean? This means that your current way of thinking, your current mindset, long held beliefs are going to be challenged. And they're going to be challenged perhaps by the group think of society. What society says is gospel, right? And your own thoughts may be contradictory to that, or may be challenged, or perhaps a personal thought or belief that you have for yourself is going to be challenged by what society thinks and says. That's why this transit could probably be a little unsettling or maybe a little uncomfortable. Now, the one thing that I will say is that this isn't happening for no reason. And if you've watched any of my videos, you know that I say that frequently. The universe, the cosmos, they are not here to troll you or to make your life unnecessarily difficult. Typically, it's life lessons, it's fortitude, it is, in the case of everything that's going on right now, it's like the universe wants you to fortify yourself. to have autonomy within yourself. That's very evident of the fact that it's a fire horse year. There's Saturn and Neptune in Aries. It's a number one year. So we're starting fresh. And how the universe wants you to start fresh is to have a very strong sense of self. And the way that this particular Pluto retrograde transit is happening, it's like this all begins in the mind first. It's this mental fortitude and mental autonomy that we're all being forged, not being forged with, that is being forged in the fire right now. So think about it that way. So essentially, with Mercury in Taurus and Pluto retrograde in Aquarius, it's like stubborn thinking meets unavoidable change. Now, Pluto in Aquarius, and I'm actually going to link my Pluto in Aquarius video. I actually did that back in 2024 when Pluto first entered Aquarius. But Pluto is going to be in Aquarius for the next 20 plus years. So that video will remain relevant for that amount of time. But it is about change. It's about mental change. It's about eradicating our minds and taking out what no longer serves us, what's not going to take us into the future. It's about forging a new mental structure. And when Pluto goes retrograde, we're seeing this happen on the grand scale just within society. But more importantly, Pluto retrograde wants you to take this energy and use it for yourself. Change your mind, change your state of mind, change your beliefs, especially the long held ones that really no longer serve you. So that's the energy that is ramping up this week. This is the kind of energy that will have you come to several realizations, right? Aha moments, these levels of insight that once you see and understand them, you can't go back. It's like once you ring a bell, you can't unring it. That sound, it's here to stay. I mean, it's not here to stay because once you ring a bell, you hear it for a little bit, but you can't unhear it. And that's how this is working right now. Once you know something, once you see something, once you come to this realization, you can't unrealize it. And when you can't unrealize something, it's like you're kind of tasked with dealing things with this new level of awareness and with this new level of consciousness, right? So now that you know better, you kind of have to do better. And that's where, again, things get a little uncomfortable because if you've been really accustomed to thinking one way, seeing a certain situation a certain way, now it's like you're kind of forced to act differently. You cannot help it. And the more you resist acting differently with this new level of awareness and this new information, the harder things are going to be for you because everything is changing. Even the way the society thinks is changing. And this is where I want to get into some examples as to how this could play out in real time and perhaps how we could experience this energy. So I think the perfect example here is technology and how Pluto in Aquarius. Aquarius is co-ruled by Uranus. Uranus is the future. Uranus is technology. So let's take AI, for instance, right? We have society sort of embracing AI for the most part. I mean, AI is still in development, will be in development for quite some time. So you have proponents of it and you have opponents of it. But for better or for worse, society has adopted it. AI is great for innovation. It's great for convenience and things like that, right? But you will have some people who are staunchly against it because in their mind, AI is evil. AI is going to take all of the jobs. The world is going to be overrun with robots, right? That is a personal belief, right? A personal value, aka Mercury in Taurus, that's being challenged by society groupthink, aka AI, and the use of it and the prevalence of it. I'll never forget I was still living in New York, so this was probably 2017, 2018, and I had to get from Long Island to Manhattan, so you take the Long Island Railroad, right? So I was taking the railroad, I was coming back to Long Island from Manhattan, and so it was late, and, it was gonna take a while for an Uber to arrive, but there were still some old school cabs at the train station, so I'm like, "Let me just hop in a cab and get to my destination rather than sitting here and waiting for an Uber that could take 20 to 30 minutes." So take this ride, no problem. I go to pay and I'm like, okay, so how do I pay? And he's like, cash. And I'm like, cash. I'm like, dude, this is like 2018. I don't have cash on me. I can, you know, do everything electronically. And he was like, nah, I don't mess with any of that. That stuff is unreliable. I only take cash. And I was like, well, dude, you should have left right now because it's like midnight and I ain't got no cash. So he was able to process my payment digitally, but he really didn't want to. He was so against it. And I remember thinking at the time, I'm like, wow, this guy's going to have a hard time because we're only going more digitally as we go into the future. So that's kind of an example of how this could play out. So I want you to understand that this may be a week where your personal beliefs, your personal thoughts may be challenged. Maybe you're talking to people and you realize that people are trying to sway you in a new direction mentally. Because remember, Pluto is a planet of influence, it's a planet of manipulation and control. So you may feel that people are trying to control your narrative, control how you think, control what you believe. And that's so ever present right now when we look at social media, especially if you're someone who's glued to your phone, glued to the TV. There's so many opportunities for how you think and how you believe to be swayed in a completely different direction, and perhaps in a direction that does not work for you. And that's the whole point of what I'm trying to that's the essence of the point I'm trying to make right now is that this transit, Pluto retrograde, it is internal. This is about you and how you believe, what you believe, and what you think. And the next couple of months is going to give you opportunities, ample opportunities to really solidify what you believe for yourself. If I had to sum this up just like that, that's exactly how I would sum it up. So this transit is deeply personal. Although there are going to be instances where society and groupthink and all of that are challenging what you believe, this is the opportunity for you to solidify, strengthen, and fortify what you think, what you believe, and what your personal narrative is. All right. And speaking of personal, if you want to know how this affects you personally, not just this particular transit, but how you are built, perhaps delving into your beliefs, your core values, then you will definitely want to look into my signature natal chart experience, which is called the blueprint. This is not your regular natal chart reading. This is an experience, not a reading. It's actually three readings at once because I use three different charts to give you a comprehensive look at not only how you are designed, but what chapter you are in life and what's going on right now and how that is affecting you. The one thing I love about this reading is that it's not just, okay, understanding myself cool, right? Because I remember when I first got into astrology and I had my natal chart, right? I'm like, okay, this is cool. But then that was it. Even though I had the recording to the reading, it was like, all right, what do I do with this? I go into what to do with this, particularly if you're at a point where you've got important decisions to make. You're trying to go in a different direction in life. This is definitely going to be the reading for you. So, if you're interested, the first step is to book a free 15-minute clarity call so we can discuss the service at length, including everything that it includes, whether the service is even right for you, and when and how to begin. All right. And if you want to book that clarity call, the link is in the description box below. However, if this sounds enticing, and being that this is a year of momentum and you're like, boom, I'm ready to do this, the link to book the blueprint straight away is also in the description box below. So definitely check that out and get on my books because this is a reading that will literally give you an immense amount of insight to make changes in your life. All right. So now back to Pluto retrograde. Another example of how this could be playing out in real time is something that I've been experiencing personally and something that I've been seeing all over the place. And it's sort of this gender wars kind of narrative. How women have these different beliefs about dating, about relationships, about marriage, about motherhood, and personal beliefs that people are really being emboldened to stand 10 toes down on, right? For the longest time, so many women were afraid to say, I don't want to have kids. I want to live a child-free life for fear of what society would say. And now a lot of women are standing up and saying that. A lot of women are saying, I don't like dating. I hate men, like things of that nature. That sort of discourse is really going to ramp up. And it's not just because of Pluto retrograde that it's going to ramp up. It has a lot to do with the astrology of the moment generally. But Pluto retrograde is really going to give you the opportunity to figure out where you stand with that, what your beliefs are, and what you truly want for yourself. So I just wanted to mention that because that's something that we're hearing every day, that we're constantly being bombarded with. And when you are met with this kind of information, it's really just an invitation for you to go within and figure out what works for you and where you stand on these issues. Okay. Now, oftentimes, Pluto gets the connotation of being a bit chaotic, right? Because it has to do with endings and beginnings and, things being decimated and rebirth, right? It can be very difficult to harness this energy if you are not grounded within yourself. So essentially, with Pluto going retrograde, it could also be a situation where the external chaos that we're seeing and experiencing in real time is now internalized, right? If you don't have a handle on it, this could feel like internal chaos. And that's not the purpose of this at all. So, in order to combat that energy of chaos and manipulation and control, which is kind of how it's feeling, if I'm being honest, and I'm sure that you can kind of relate to this too. Everything that we're seeing on the news and on social media, it is a form of mental manipulation. It could even be a form of energy manipulation. And if you internalize it, you're just inviting that manipulation, those control issues, and that chaos into your own being. So, the best way to work with this energy is mental fortitude. You have to, number one, unplug from everything that's going on right now, at least for a little bit. Personally, there was a time where I never used to watch the news, right? I watch it now, but I watch it with a very discerning ear and a discerning eye because I know that everything that I'm being shown is not necessarily the truth. I use it as an invitation to find the truth for myself. And that's kind of how you should work with the energy as well. But mental fortitude. If you know something, if you know it like you know it like you know it, if you believe something with the very essence of your being, stand 10 toes down on that. And use this Pluto retrograde energy to further solidify and ground yourself in those ideas and beliefs. But also, depending on how you experience this energy, this may be an invitation to open your mind. Maybe you're too narrow minded. Maybe you're too grounded in something that's clearly not serving you. And Pluto retrograde is going to keep bringing it up and bringing it up and bringing it up as a way to say, hey, listen, maybe you need to change your mind a bit on this. Maybe you need to broaden your horizons. Maybe you need to look at things differently. Maybe you finally come to the realization that, listen, this isn't working or this doesn't work for me. And then use the next couple of months to really explore what that looks like for you, what it feels like for you, what it means for you in your life. So, above all else, this Pluto retrograde cycle that we're experiencing right now, beginning this week, it's all about getting comfortable with what you believe, what you think, what your narrative is. And spend the next couple of months honing in, refining it, experimenting with it, and making it make sense for you. All right, my loves, so that's pretty much all I've got for you for this video on Pluto retrograde. So I want you to sound off in the comments below. Let me know where Aquarius is in your natal chart. This is where your thinking is changing. This is where new ideas, this is where innovation is trying to make way in your life. So comment down below, where is Pluto in your natal chart? And if you don't know, comment that as well, because I'll be able to help you out with that too. All right, my loves. Thank you so much for tuning in. I sincerely, sincerely appreciate you more than you know. This channel has been going strong for 6 years, and I plan to take it well into the future to bring you all of the information that you need in order to have your best life experience. And if you find this information valuable, there are several things you can do to support the channel. Number one, like, comment, share, and subscribe, especially if you know someone who is really going through it right now, share this video with them because this is information that they definitely need in this moment. So like, comment, share, subscribe, and set notifications. Number two, if you are an OG here, you really like this and you want this kind of content to continue, then consider subscribing to the channel. My channel membership is called the Inner Orbit. And you not only get early access to videos, but you get exclusive member only videos. And I'm going to be doing some live streams. I'm going to be implementing something called the Chart Lab, where I will not only dissect charts, but I will give you the opportunity to ask questions about your chart as well in these regularly members only live streams. So if you are interested, subscribe to the channel. I promise you won't regret it. All right. And follow me on Instagram. I've got some great stuff over there, or TikTok if you're into that thing. I'm kind of getting into that more as well. But thank you so much for your support, for your engagement, for your kind words. I plan to continue this for the long haul, and I can't wait to have you with me as I am continue on this journey. All right, my loves, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in my next video. Take care.